And at home, I work for a public university. I believe in public education, so that's why I picked them. And they have a big program, a lot of students. I can't quite tell you how many, but there's anywhere from about 40 students to 100 students in each semester. So multiply that times 8 and you get a rough average how many journalism majors.
Well, one of the biggest issues in Indonesia, of course, is quality of education and improving education. How have you been received by the students? How do the students?
The students are enthusiastic. The students are really happy to meet somebody from another country. They ask good questions, but as everyone knows here, they're a little shy, right? So, and they're shy about speaking English. Their understanding of English, most of them, I'd say maybe 90%, their comprehension when I'm speaking is really good. But a lot of them just can't quite put a sentence together on the fly to speak.
Well, it's a second and even a third language for a lot of people. So, but what's different about the approach to online journalism that you're taking in the States to what you see in Bandung, what you see people?
The biggest problem here is the internet itself. The internet in Indonesia is still, it runs slow. You have to wait forever for multimedia pages to load. So trying to show an example to a student is really slow. It's not like this. At home it's like this. Also, our universities have extra fast connections because, you know, the idea of the university as a place of learning, so they have a faster internet connection than we have in our homes. Here, it's slower, and it's not even reliable. Some days we cannot access the internet in the whole campus of Padjajaran for the whole day.
No kidding.
Really?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, people in the audience who don't know this might find it interesting that it's true that in American universities and public universities now for the last 20 years, these have been the centers of broadband access.
Yes, we have
now
faster internet. Yes.
But when I lived in California, I used to go to the University of California at Davis just to get a fast internet.
To get faster connection, right. And that we, you know, in our university offices and in our classrooms, even with Wi-Fi, we can watch YouTube videos and they load like that. We can watch complicated multimedia, it loads like that. But here, it's completely different. And
the students, though, I know they have online activities at UnPad. And, are they keen? Are they creative? Because we're seeing a lot of really creative tech happening.
You know what?
Indonesia.
Those students are so creative that they often have events at which students are expected to perform. And these are the students in the communication faculty, the College of Communications, right? And so they're not in theater, they're not in music, but they have these events where students put on skits and performances that are really good. And I'm like, our students in the US couldn't do this. They wouldn't know how to script it, they wouldn't know how to time it. So they have a really, I mean, maybe it's from, you know, ancient culture and Wayang, you know, because they have a real talent at telling stories in a kind of performance way. But then for the technology, they use technology.
We're going to have to take a break.
Okay. I could see that coming.
They use technology.
They use technology, but
take a break.
Yes, okay.
We're watching Inside Indonesia, brought to you by the Jakarta Globe. Sorry to be so abrupt.
That's okay.
Stay with us. Welcome back to Inside Indonesia, brought to you by the Jakarta Globe. Today we're having a very animated discussion about online journalism education with Mindy McAdams, an American journalist who's been here on a Fulbright scholarship for teaching for the last year or so. Now, you were saying
about technology.
The kids are great performers, and then how do they relate to the technology?
They're good performers and good, they can make a story and perform it and present it. As far as technology, they love it, they love to use it. They're on their handphone all day long, they love the internet, but they don't take the initiative to learn how to produce content for the internet or for the phone. So they love to consume it, but they are, I think, fearful, or they think it will be really difficult to learn how to make those things, like videos, or how to, program, or how to make an interactive thing for an app. And American students are the same way. They have this hesitation, like, that's going to be hard, so I won't even try.
Now, do you do the hands-on stuff?
I can program. I was learning Python earlier this year, which is a programming language.
Now, see,
I was learning it online.
I always thought Python was a snake. See?
No, there's a snake, and then there's a programming language, yeah. And there's now, like, free online learning things that are great, so that you can just, like, log on and take a lesson in the privacy of your home and try things and learn it by yourself.
So it actually isn't that difficult, because I'm one of these people who's, I'm an early adapter as a user, but I've never figured out how to
see, and that's normal. A lot of people are like that. Okay, don't say it's easy, but don't say it's hard. The thing is, it takes time. That's the only thing.
It takes time to learn.
It's not that you need to be a genius, but you need to spend the time, and you need to try and practice and do it again and again, and then anybody can learn it.
Now, before you go, one of the things I definitely want to touch on is you've done 2 Fulbrights in Southeast Asia. You did one a few years ago in Malaysia.
Yes.
Teaching journalism.
Yes.
Where?
At UITM.
Okay.
It's a University Technology Mara in Shah Alam, which is quite close to Kuala Lumpur.
Okay, and you've taught journalism here.
Yes.
What's the difference?
In the teaching or in the journalism?
Well, the journalism. Compare the 2 environments, because going into journalism in Malaysia must be a far different prospect than going into journalism.
It is. The difference in especially newspaper journalism and the state TV journalism here and in Malaysia, it's really far apart, because the press laws in Malaysia are extremely restrictive. Their press is not free. The Indonesian press, it's not perfect, nobody's press is, but the Indonesian press, by law, is free and really has freedom to pursue a lot of stories. The Malaysian press is so restricted that if you write something that a government minister doesn't like, you can be fired.
Sure.
And your boss, like yesterday, your boss allowed it to run in the newspaper.
And he gets fired.
No, he won't get fired. He gets the phone call from the minister, and then he comes and fires you because the minister's mad at him.
Now, when I talk to, I know I've been to Malaysia many times, of course, when I talk to students here who want to go become interns at the Globe or want to become part of journalism, they're just full of the possibilities.
Yes.
Of what they might do, what they might write about, pretty unencumbered by anything but commercial realities and occasionally political sensitivities, of course. What about the students in Malaysia? I mean, what are they excited about?
Well, actually, they have the same attitude before they start a job, because in their university, their professors and their teachers don't tell them how it really is. So their professors teach a kind of optimistic free press style of journalism. And then the students go, they go into their first job, and they are, and their bosses, little by little, teach them the reality. And they teach them sometimes indirectly, by the student goes out, reports something, writes a story, and it just doesn't go into the newspaper. Why not? We don't write that kind of story. Why not? We just don't. And little by little, they learn what the cage is that they have to live inside.
Yeah, well, I think that's true in Malaysia. It's certainly true in Singapore.
They learn on the job. Yes, they learn on the job how much they cannot do.
Whereas here, it's just pretty open. It's something that I think Indonesians are rightly proud of.
Still some things, and just like all the capitalist countries, media all have owners. And there are some things that you will not write about, even in Indonesia, because your owner has his interests, and he doesn't want that story in the newspaper he owns.
This is true, but at least there are so many outlets, and there's a lot of freedom.
And the internet is quite free here. So if you've got something, if you've got facts and information, you can share it with the public through the internet.
And last question, we're out of time.
Okay.
I'm assuming you've enjoyed your time in Indonesia.
I have. The people here are really nice. I mean, they're welcoming to foreigners, they're curious, and they're smart. So it's really pleasant to meet Indonesians and talk to them.
Now I can tell people who say, why is there only bad news? I said, now here we have Mindy who's had a great time in Indonesia. We're not talking about bad stuff at all.
That's right.
I want to thank you for being here. You've been watching Insight Indonesia, brought to you by the Jakarta Globe. We're available online at beritasatu.tv and beritasatu.com. That can be streamed. And we post the shows online at thejakartaglobe.com. Thanks for watching.